It's showtime, folks. Enjoy the show.
And a fine Saturday morning to you both.
Good morning, Andy.
Good morning.
It's like, fresh faces. This is a great way to start the day with you two. I have Kyle Olson here from Marvel Movie Minute. Hello.
That's me.
And I have
Hello.
Ray Delancey, or Ray Delancey Pants, as some people call him, from a number of our shows. He's helping with the Trailer Rewind show, producing that, and he's getting ready to kick off his own show soon, right?
Yepper. We'll talk more about that soon.
Very exciting. Very exciting.
Ooh, good tease.
Well, it is. I feel like we just need to jump into this. I mean, I was going to say, how are your movie lives? But I mean, we happen to be recording this, and it is just a flood of information just being shoveled at us right now. News story after news story. And I feel like we just need to start somewhere. So...
Yes. So no matter what, we're probably going to miss something big.
Likely.
Just by time.
Before we begin this flood of news, is there anything that we need to talk about news-wise that doesn't relate to Disney Plus and all of the news coming out of their investor meeting? I feel like there's...
I say you want to touch on HBO Max? That seems to be what was on everyone's mind.
That seems to be the big one. Yeah, we've HBO Max, of course, released. I think this was news last week that they had their whole slate of Warner Brothers films being released through 2021. I think it's about 14 films, something like that they're releasing. I may have that number wrong, but everything will be day and date, and HBO Max will be playing them for I think 30 days before anyone else gets a chance to do anything with them. And then all the backlash started. I don't know who started it. I know Christopher Nolan was one of the first.
Pretty heavy there.
Yeah.
But then we had the producers over at, is it Dune or Legendary? Yeah. But they were behind Dune, or a lot of the money behind Dune and Godzilla versus King Kong. They're now talking about suing Warner Brothers. What is going on, you two?
And then there's like hearsay that Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot were paid to say, oh, this HBO Max streaming thing is good stuff.
Well, I think when we get into the Disney news, I think there's now some anecdotal evidence that she's unhappy with
Patty
her
or
situation.
Gal?
So we'll get into that too. Patty, yeah.
It's a tricky time, and it's more tricky because nobody's contracts had all of this put in place, because nobody was expecting a pandemic, and all these actors, directors, creative people who get back end points on these projects for when they make a lot of money at the box office, they're not getting that sort of reciprocation from the streaming. And so it ends up hurting a lot of people's pocketbooks. Now, I'm sure they're already making plenty of money, but still, it's one of those things where this whole streaming deal that they're making to keep things going, it is affecting a lot of people.
Right.
It is a little difficult to feel a lot of sympathy for them, though. it's because, as much as this is corporate maneuvering and back and forth and all this stuff, what do they expect to happen? I mean, are they seeing the numbers? They're living in the same world as us? They're also still not going on talk shows because they can't, because of what's happening. I don't see how they think things are going to just radically change in the next couple of months. I even think Disney is being a little closed off in terms of their forward. I think Warner Bros. Is the only one who seems to have looked at the situation and decided to take action, and it's an action that benefits us, the consumer.
Yeah, I think Universal is still actively just trying to push things into theaters, hoping they'll say, hey, 4 million this weekend, yay! Because I know The Croods 2 was out. I know they pushed Freaky. There are a couple of movies that are, they're trying to get out there to kind of slug along a little bit, but they're just like, nobody's going. Nobody's making any money.
Do you guys have any theaters open in your area?
Oh, yeah. I mean, theaters are open. I mean, we're in Arizona. It's a bunch of...
Yeah. See, they're closed in my area.
They're like, pandemic? What pandemic?
You can't make me stop going to the movie theater.
Yeah. That's ours are all closed still, Yeah.
No.
Oh, really?
Not here. Yeah.
Yeah. I say, if it makes you wonder how much longer... like our local chain is Harkins, which is a fantastic movie theater. I feel really bad for them, but at the same time, I'm not going to go. Like, just and it has nothing to do with them. I mean, I see the lists they do, and I know that Ray, you actually have gone to the movie theater since this, but I have not, and I don't have any plan to. And they can send me as many gift certificates and lists of all the stuff they're doing, and I know that they're working their hardest to do it. But it's not them that I'm worried about when I go. I'm not worried about picking something up from a dirty armrest. Yeah. It's from a dirty patron who's sitting way too close to me. That's what makes me nervous. And there's nothing they can really do about it.
I know. I went to see Tenet. I did see that. And I mean, there were like 20 people total in the whole theater. So I felt pretty safe. Like nobody sat close to each other. Everyone was really far apart.
Yeah.
And, everybody, from what I could tell, had their masks on the whole time, except for there were some people who were eating. So I felt relatively safe there. And then I've talked to some other people, they're showing a lot of older movies right now. And I've talked to some people who like took their kids to see The Wizard of Oz or Star Wars, and they were the only ones in the theater. Yeah. And so I'm like, I honestly feel like it's probably a safer time to go to the movies right now because so few people are actually going to the movies. But still, it's that risk. And I will say that's one benefit of being able to buy tickets, pick your seats early now, because you can actually see, do I want to go to this one? And, as long as you're looking right before and there's nobody there, then you're probably okay. But still, it still is a risk no matter how you slice it, because you don't know who was there right before you. They could have been sitting in the chair you happened to pick. They could have sneezed and you could get COVID.
Yeah.
So it's still a risk factor. I'm curious to see what's going to happen with all of this. I know now there's all this story about how a lot of this fighting is really because of AT&T, and because Warner Brothers belongs to Warner Media, which is part of AT&T, which is this whole corporate incestual thing, the way that corporations kind of just keep taking over, and it's just like they're all like planet eaters, right? And that's what they've all become basically. And so I think that AT&T is, as a corporation, they just want the money, and they're probably fine if movie theaters go, as long as there's a way to get money out of it. And that's, I think, the danger for a lot of this. And so I don't know. It's a hard situation to be in for everybody. I don't know if what Warner Brothers is doing is the right way. I don't know if the other studios are doing it the right way and just kind of holding off. I guess we'll just see and hope that, when a vaccine starts coming out, that will all be okay.
I also think it's interesting that the one filmmaker who has spoken up the most is Christopher Nolan, a man who was so determined to get his movie into theaters during the worst possible time, and now comes out and says that HBO Max is the worst streaming service. That's spoken from a man who's never used Amazon Prime Video. Because, now that Quibi is gone, I think that Amazon Prime Video has probably taken this position of the worst video streaming service out there that you have to pay for. That is, there's some free ones I think that could use some issues, but yeah, I don't know. It's a little bit okay, boomer. Like, all right, Chris, like your movie's out, like it's coming out on video, like you're gonna be fine. But at the same time, I understand what the theatricals rate. I remember Spielberg was big on this for a long time too. When the streaming stuff started, was like, how dare any of these films not go into theaters, because theaters are a church and you need to worship there. Exactly. It's like, okay, but some people don't have that option. So how about a choice? And which is what I like about the HBO Max thing. It's a choice. They're giving you the option. If you want to go to the theaters, great, go to the theaters. If you don't feel safe going to the theaters, watch it at home. And if you're an AT&T subscriber, watch it at home for free. Because like I was talking about this with Rob, he gets his HBO Max for free because he's an AT&T customer.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. No matter how you slice it, it's just tricky. And I think, I know other directors have said things. I think Edgar Wright said something about it, but not quite as direct. It was just more pining for the days, when we could have those theaters and that experience that you get in the theater, which absolutely is a magical thing. And so I can't wait to go back to the full movie theaters and watch movies with a big crowd. I'm just looking forward to the day. It will happen at some point. We're just not quite there. But at this point,
maybe Black Widow.
Yeah, maybe Black Widow. I guess we'll see. See. We'll see how fast they can give vaccines to, I don't know what the planet's at, 7 billion now. 7 billion people. A little bit of time. So
put it in the water supply.
Oh, there you go. What else? What other news do we have? I feel like that might be it. Other than Disney, is there something else?
What about Sony? Technically, Spider-Man 3 has had a lot of news.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still a little bit leery of this, that these official and confirmed, and yet Sony is not the one confirming, Marvel's not the one confirming, and the actors aren't the one confirming. I guess kind of until I hear from any of those people, I kind of just go, yeah, all right, sure.
Yeah,
I mean, like the vast amount of people that are supposed to be in this movie, I kind of go, all right. Well, we'll see. It's
very tricky. It's because these are things that people have been very excited about for a while, ever since they heard that Jamie Foxx was going to be in the Spider-Man 3 returning. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, and they're going to bring all the Spider-Men back, and we'll have all the Spider-Men, because now we've got the Spider-Verse and, all the sort of stuff. Now they're talking about Charlie Cox popping in as Daredevil, and Alfred Molina popping in as Dr. Octopus. I don't know. It's crazy, and I love all.
Jared Leto as Morbius.
Oh, interesting. I hadn't heard that. Hey, yeah, throw him in.
No, sure, why not? I mean, I'm sure. Let's just throw all the other names in there.
Yeah, I was thinking. I thought the two funniest things I saw was somebody posted. There's this meme now with Willem Dafoe, and it's it's the line from Spider-Man. I'm a little bit of scientist myself, or whatever he says it is. Oh, I'm a little bit of an actor looking for work myself, or all those memes. And then
if we're gonna get a Sinister Six together, we're gonna need a goblin.
Well, then somebody was posted something else about Paul Giamatti, and they're like, oh, he's gonna be returning too, except he'll be actually his character from Sideways. Like, oh, that's funny.
The fight just goes by, and there he is, just sitting there drinking a glass of wine.
Drinking some wine.
Hey,
funny stuff. Well, we'll see. I'm curious to see how all of that ends up playing out.
Yeah.
Should be interesting. I guess that brings us to all the Disney news, and I guess we can start with Spider-Man, since we have word. Well, I don't want to get too far into the Marvel territory. So let's hold off on the Marvel stuff, and we'll come back to.
Yeah, I would. Rob and I, as members of the Marvel Movie Minutes, are planning on trying to wait until all the news is out there and do our own little report. So we can steer away from that stuff, and we'll get into it a little bit further, because this show can only be so long. So if you're looking for Marvel news, look for that. We're gonna put out a sort of a special report,
like a hiatus episode before season 3 kicks off.
Exactly.
Because there's a lot of new news.
Yeah. So I say we probably should start with Star Wars.
Oh.
Because holy cow.
Yeah.
Where to start? There's so much.
So we'll start with Mandalorian. So Mandalorian, obviously, we're in the middle of season 2 here. It's coming to end, I think, on the 18th. So we got like 2 more episodes, I think. Look, cameo appearance by Grogu.
Grogu.
So from the Mandalorian, so Mandalorian season 3 then is going to be coming out at this time next year. So in 2021. So they said in fall 2021. They said around Christmas, so maybe they won't make that October, November date. And then from there, they said now they're going to spin off from The Mandalorian Ahsoka. So Star Wars Ahsoka was announced with a logo and everything. And then Star Wars Rangers of the New Republic. Is that the correct name? It's so brand new. So I assume this will be sort of like the sort of the beat cops we've seen in this season of Mandalorian.
In the Mandalorian.
That kind of story, like, basically like that kind of a squad, like trying to get a wild outer rim sort of area under control after the fall of the controlling force of the Empire. So yeah, those are considered actually official spin-offs of that show. So potentially that means they could cross over with each other.
And it's kind of an interesting new concept too, because whenever those two rebels or rangers, I guess they are, showed up in the Mandalorian, at first, like, I didn't know what to make of it, but it was different. It was kind of neat. I can totally see how that could be made into a fully fledged series in its own right.
Yeah, and I think this is what they're now looking at doing. And I think from the marketing perspective, it makes sense. Let's take all these properties and tie them all together in in knots, as it were, because it works really well. Look at what the MCU has done. And now if we start doing this with all these TV properties, it almost creates built-in audiences for all these other shows. Anybody who's a fan of Mandalorian is now going to want to go watch Ahsoka because of all the tie-ins there, and Rangers of the New Republic. And it's just like, it kind of keeps this thing going where they spread this net and you just can't help but watch the next thing.
It's incredible to me just how much Star Wars as a universe, as a property, has really spider-webbed outward. You know what I mean? Because it used to be that Star Wars was 3 films and then it was 6, and that's all it was, just a couple of movies. And then you had other franchises like maybe Star Trek that were much bigger, because you had like 12, 13 movies and 5 or 6 different series. Now there's more than that, and there was just so much going on there. And Star Wars by comparison seemed so small. And now, we've got 3 trilogies. We've got The Mandalorian, we've got Clone Wars, we've got Rebels, and it's just astounding how much material there is there. And I think The Mandalorian is proof of how they can take something seemingly small within that universe and make something terrific out of it.
Well, and you haven't even brought up the fact that Kenobi is happening with Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen returning to play Darth Vader.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting, because if you get Hayden Christensen, you don't just put him in the armor, right? So is it going to be a lot of scenes of him in the pod?
I don't know. Yeah, it's really intriguing.
Helmet off with the rebreather,
Right. Or is he going to do
Where's Kenobi?
Is he going to do what Pedro Pascal's doing for Mandalorian and go full helmet the whole time?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I'm really curious. And then Patty Jenkins is directing a new Star Wars movie, Rogue Squadron, to come out. I mean, it's like 3 years away, but it's like crazy, like all this stuff that they're pumping out right now. If you're a fan of
Patty Jenkins, then check out her Twitter account, because she posted a video announcing this where she talks about how her father was a fighter pilot, and she's always wanted to make a movie about fighter pilots. And then at the end she says, and I found to combine 2 of my loves, and then she puts on a Rogue Squadron helmet and walks over to an X-Wing. That's how they announced it. It was like, nice. So that gets us back into the DCEU, because it seems to me that Patty Jenkins has left Wonder Woman behind, because now going over to do a Star Wars movie, that means she's off the table for the next 3 years.
Interesting.
So she will not be doing it. Like if there is a Wonder Woman 3, and I don't know why there wouldn't be. Well, it will not be directed by her,
unless there's a contractual thing where she will have a period off to do that. Who knows? But
so they're going to wait till 2025 to have another Wonder Woman movie. I mean,
yeah.
Well, I mean, if there's other Warner Brothers properties that lock into the Justice League that they could do between then and now.
Yeah. That's probably what will happen, is they'll probably put it off for a little while. So
yeah, but I find it interesting that she has sort of then said, well, I did my 2 and then I'm done.
Well, as you pointed out,
it seems that she's walked away.
She could be not too happy with Warner Brothers right now because of everything going on with the streaming. So hard to say. But then again, it's like jumping in bed with Disney. It's like, it's the same over there. It's
I know, right? It's just changing one corporate overlord for another.
Right.
I mean.
Exactly.
It's like, let me give you a list of names of people who have had wonderful creative experiences over at Disney.
Right. But speaking of Disney, I mean, a lot of other news not related to Star Wars. We have some TV news, spin-offs of movies like the Moana TV series, Tiana, Zootopia, Baymax. There's going to be a Cars and an Up TV spin-off. It's just like the list is crazy.
The live action movies continue. They announced the cast for the Little Mermaid live action movie. There's going to be Robert Zemeckis is directing Tom Hanks in a Pinocchio live action movie. There's going to be a Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers movie. That's a live action animation hybrid. So it's sort of like what we saw in Tom and Jerry, I guess, to be the most recent example. But Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Let's do a better example of combining the two. And Chip is played by John Mulaney, and Dale is played by Andy Samberg.
Crazy.
So
I wonder if they'll
already on board.
chipmunk-ize their voices.
I wonder if they're going to do like Alvin and the Chipmunks, where they'll actually change it, or is it like, well, you've already got their, you pay big money for these people. Why would you change their voices?
Or is it one of those things where, like, when you zoom into like the chipmunk world, they hear their normal voices, but then when you zoom out to like human world, then it's the squeaky squeakity squeak.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at the Alvin and the Chipmunks movies, they got decent size actors, decent size.
Justin Long, I think, was one of them.
Yeah, and so like it's not like, and they altered their voices for that, so I don't think that's necessarily something they're afraid to do.
Yeah. It really depends on the actors. So
we shall see.
One of the things I'm most curious about is this. I don't even know what to make of this. It's a Nigeria set sci-fi animated series called Iwaju that will be on Disney Plus. That is, it's going to premiere in 2022. It's a collaboration between Disney Animation and Pan-African entertainment company Kugali. So I don't know anything about them, but just the whole idea of that sounds really intriguing. So that's a whole new thing that they're doing, which is exciting.
Yeah, a bunch of sequels. So we have Disenchanted, which is Enchanted 2, essentially, starring Amy Adams. We have Hocus Pocus 2.
Oh, dear.
Are
And
they official?
That is official. They announced it today. It is official, coming to and Sister Act 3 with Tyler Perry. I kid you not. I like the amount of news coming out right now is amazing. Now they're talking about the next 2 years. So a lot of things that we're talking about today will probably not be out until 2022 or 2023. A lot of the animated stuff, especially because animation takes a long time.
Yeah.
Still, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
And then this crazy thing, Chris Evans is going to voice Buzz Lightyear in a Pixar origin story feature. Now, that's
interesting?
I assume it's an origin story about the character Buzz Lightyear, not the toy.
Yes, I think that's correct. Yeah,
yeah, because I mean, they're going to just watch him getting assembled in a factory overseas?
Yeah, how did he get in that box? Who was the kid that gave it to him at the party?
Very dull film. Oh, so funny. Well, yeah, the news just keeps flowing. It has been a busy time for all this Disney news as their investor meeting just keeps spilling it out for us. Any other last things? Or I feel like we've kind of hit the big ones that don't relate to Marvel.
Yeah, I guess the last one would be that there's going to be another Indiana Jones. They officially announced Indiana Jones 5. And at the conclusion of our news, it is supposed to be the conclusion of Indiana Jones's story as well. So they say this will be the last one
with Harrison Ford.
Yeah. Yes, and Frank Marshall has said,
that's the news, right? That
Frank Marshall has said there is only one Indiana Jones, and it's Harrison Ford.
Right.
And you know who doesn't have the power to say that? Frank Marshall, because at any point the CEO of Disney could just be like, no, there's another one.
Yeah.
And it's Chris Pratt or whoever it's going to be.
Exactly. Although Harrison Ford, Harrison Ford, actually, no, even if he says anything, people aren't going to be able to do much about it because unfortunately, he's just kind of the cranky old man now that no matter what, it'll all just, there goes cranky Harrison again.
Right. And obviously they tried, I think, in the last one. I'm told there's a fourth Indiana Jones film, but I don't see that on my list. But they tried to actually, introduce the son of Indiana Jones, and that did not go over well with anyone.
That was, we talked about that. That was one of our, in fact, our very first series on this show was the Indiana Jones films. And yeah. It's a tough one. That is a tough one.
Pour one out for the poor Indiana Jones franchise. And the last film, which will not be directed by Steven Spielberg.
Right, yeah.
You mean you don't crave CGI monkeys?
It's the ants.
The ants.
Really, the ants.
Driving off cliffs.
Yeah. Adding in the Johnny Weissmuller Tarzan yell. Just,
Yeah. Well, let's move on and let's talk about trailers. Now, I had dropped my trailer in first. So I was like, you know what? I got my trailer and I get to go first. And then a red band is released, and Kyle, without even knowing there's a red band rule, picks.
I'd say I waited until like the very last minute to pick mine and dropped it in there, and they're like, "Oh, you won!" I was like, "Ah, I did what?"
Yeah,
I thought I would get in trouble because I waited so long, and you guys had to scramble to watch my trailer before we started recording, because I watched a lot of trailers, because a lot of trailers just came out recently, and for a lot of really bad movies. I mean, I went through a whole list. I'm like, I want to find what I can actually talk about for a little bit. So I had one that I was going to talk about, and then I did some research into it and found out that one of the people who was behind it was a person who had justly deserved his Me Too punishment, and I did not want to give any airtime to that. So we move on to one I found just recently. It dropped, I think, today, and it's from the creators of John Wick, essentially. So it asks the question, what if John Wick, instead of getting a dog, got a family instead? And it's a trailer called Nobody. So I'm not sure about this. So I didn't put it up there because I'm super excited and I can't wait to see it. I really wanted to see what your guys' reaction was too, because I watched it and kind of went, huh, okay, interesting, because I like Bob Odenkirk a lot. Actually, don't find him funny. I find him a magnificent dramatic actor. So it's interesting how we have Robin Williams was a comedian and became a dramatic actor and could go back and forth. Usually it doesn't work that well. I find Bob Odenkirk unconvincing as a comedian and really compelling as a dramatic actor. So,
you weren't a fan of Mr. Show?
I was not a fan of Mr. Show. No, I have seen it and I was not a fan. So I mean, but on Breaking Bad and on Better Call Saul, he's magnificent. And every time he shows up in a dramatic role, I think he's great at it. Yeah. And this is a very big departure for him, like actually doing action stuff. And I'm curious to see how it is, because some of the action looks really good and some of it not so much, because not everybody can do the stuff, no matter how much training you get and how much time you spend with your fight coordinator. So I'm curious to see how this cuts together, because even the trailer takes a little bit of a turn where you think it's going to be unhinged or falling down, and then it turns out, oh no, this is actually like a John Wick kind of story where he has a secret dark past that's now coming back. So what did you guys think? And
directed by Ilya Naishuller, who directed Hardcore Henry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the first person action movie. And
so that, I mean, I was like, okay. I mean, the John Wick aspects get me excited about it. The Ilya Naishuller, I'm like, I'm not quite as excited. I really do love Bob Odenkirk. I think he is great in dramatic stuff, and I am a fan of Mr. Show. I like his comedy stuff too. But I think that he's just one of those people who does a lot of really interesting a lot of work. I mean, he's directed, he's produced, he's written, he's acted, he's a comedian, he's like everything. And I really enjoy a lot of the stuff that he brings to the table. And I think it's exciting that he's doing this crazy action movie where he basically plays an accountant, or I can't remember what he was, but it was something for these Russian drug lords. Like he kept their books. So basically he's an accountant, right? And I don't know. I want it to be good. I hope it turns into something that actually surprises me and doesn't just, disappoint, even though it's a lot of the John Wick people are involved.
I was kind of hesitant whenever I saw that it was announced and I saw the trailer, and I was kind of like, I don't really want to watch this. But 30 seconds in, to be honest, I was sold. It was particularly drawn in by the focus that it seems to have on the character's regret of not taking action in that scenario where his house was invaded. And I just think that could make for a really compelling story, but it also looks like it could be a lot of fun too. And it looks like John Wick meets Taken, and I don't care.
Yeah.
And weirdly, Christopher Lloyd is in it.
Yeah, Christopher Lloyd plays his father. Yeah. And also the RZA is in this movie as well.
Right. Well, when is this one coming out? What's the release plan for it?
It's coming out in February 2021. They say to theaters, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe. If not, maybe who is this? This is Universal. So Universal has been largely pushing theaters still. So maybe. I guess we'll find out in a couple months what the plans are for the world. So,
yeah.
All right. I will jump in next then, since I had originally posted first. But, I found this trailer because, like you, I was scrubbing through trailer after trailer trying to find something. And I had a few. I'm like, oh, this could be fun. This could be okay. And nothing really excited me. And then I stumbled across this one and I'm like, this looks kind of interesting. It's called Blithe Spirit. It is a comedy based on, and I don't think I ever was familiar with this, but Noel Coward wrote this play back in the 40s called Blithe Spirit. They made a film of it. It was a very, very popular play, and it just looks really, really funny. We have Charles, who is, he is struggling trying to write his new book, and he can't come up with anything. And so he goes to see a show performed by this crazy mystic played by Judi Dench, who seems pretty obviously just total fake. But he hires her to come over and do a seance at his house in the hopes that it will give him some ideas. And of course, it accidentally brings back his dead wife, who is played by Leslie Mann. And now he's got his dead wife, who is trying to help him. His real current wife, played by Isla Fisher. Judi Dench is still hanging around. Dan Stevens plays Charles. It just looks like exactly what kind of this British comedy would kind of be. This kind of stuffy thing in kind of the Downton Abbey-esque sorts of sets and everything. And this writer who's just struggling, trying to come up with ideas, now being pestered by his dead wife, his real wife, and trying to sort out plans with this woman to make his dead wife go away. It just looked hilarious. The sort of film that I think could be a lot of fun. So what did you two think of this one?
Don't ask me why, but the type of tongue-in-cheek humor that this trailer had kept reminding me of Shakespeare in Love.
Okay.
And it had nothing to do with Judi Dench either. But I will say this. I've never been impressed with Leslie Mann, but I think she looks really good in this movie.
Yes, I could not agree with you more. That was actually my point as well. I feel like Leslie Mann has sort of been doing the same role over and over again for probably the last 10 years or more. And I'm kind of tired of it. And I see her in this and go, oh, wow. Like now I kind of feel like I'm an idiot. Like I didn't know you had another speed. And also her accent is really good.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's all, it's all
because
Brits.
She's working with some, it's all Brits and her.
Right.
It was like an odd thing. I'm like, why? It's a weird piece of casting, but when you see it on screen, it really, really works. Yeah, I think I would have picked this trailer if you hadn't, because I watched it too, and I had that lightness of spirit. I'm like, oh, I haven't seen anything like this in such a long time. Just a nice, fun, running around, people being ridiculous in expensive clothes kind of movie.
Exactly. Yeah. It looks like it'll be a lot of fun. Looks like this one just has been getting delayed over and over and over. It was scheduled to release back in May. And now it's kind of, I think, somewhere Christmas-ish, but in some parts of the world. But it looks like on the Sky Cinema channels, which I don't know if that's only on planes, Sky Cinema. It sounds like it is, but that's January 15th.
I think our friends in the UK can probably say that, but I think that Sky is one of their major networks.
It sounds like the what you'd sell your movie to play on airplanes, Sky Cinema, but anyway, January 20th.
Oh, I'm sorry. As I do the quick thing, Sky is the British version of Comcast.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. It looks like it will be playing on that January 15th, 2021. IFC Films is going to be distributing it here in the States. I don't have a date, but Blithe Spirits, look for it. It should be a fun and light and charming film.
And speaking of light and charming, Ray, tell us about your trailer.
Well, light and charming. Well, as a big city news reporter, Holly Frost has hit it big. When an assignment takes her back to her small hometown of Ornaments, she discovers that a childhood typographical error is about to force her to face her demons. Literally. The movie I've chosen is called Letters to Satan Claus, which is a sci-fi release, and it looks downright hysterical because it looks to be, a carbon copy of your prototypical Lifetime or Hallmark style Christmas movie at first. And then you get going, and then all of a sudden there's like demons showing up in severed hands in Christmas boxes, and it turns out that she misspelled Santa as Satan as a child, and so all these letters that she's thinking she's written to Santa have gone to Satan, and Satan is summoned and kidnaps the mayor or something and is going to kill her parents if she doesn't do something. So this looks wild and crazy. Could be really bad, could be really good. Either way, I'm sure it's going to be worth at least one watch. What did you guys think?
The whole concept of sci-fi, it's like, why did they take so long to do this sort of spoof on like the Hallmark types of movies? That's exactly what it is. Does it look good? No, but neither do those. But I will definitely watch this before I watch any of those. Right?
Yeah. Sci-fi has an odd history for these kind of things. From the studio that brought you Sharknado comes. Right. But it's interesting to see a movie made from, essentially, I think I saw this as a meme on Tumblr.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And they went, hey, we can make a movie of that.
That's hilarious. Oh, so fun. It's a great idea that they're doing. Is it going to be a good movie? Very doubtful, but the concept
could be a fun one.
Yeah, it could be. It could be really fun. So I love that they're doing this. Kudos to them for doing it, and doing something really silly, and it'll be fun, even if it is forgettable.
So if you're interested, it looks like it's going to be released on December the 19th on Sci-Fi. I don't know if Sci-Fi does business with Hulu at all or any other streaming services, or if they're their own thing strictly. I couldn't tell you.
Looks like Hulu, actually, now that I'm looking.
I wanted to, I'm thinking in my mind, I thought that they were affiliated with Hulu in some way, but I couldn't remember for sure.
Seems like you're right.
Say, well, now that Disney has full control, we'll see how long those deals last.
Yeah, right. All right, gents, those are the trailers. I guess it's game time.
Ooh.
No.
We don't even know what's about to happen.
Well, if you were listening a few weeks ago, I popped in on an episode and actually threw a little game at the three hosts that were there. And I thought, hey, let's do a little bit more of that. It's the collaboration game. And it's just the two of you playing now. It's not three. But we'll see how well you two know your pairings.
Oh, boy. I'm saying not well. I listened to that show and went, oh, man, I'm so glad I wasn't a guest on that because I was playing along at home and I was doing terribly.
I know. It's hard. It's hard. But it should be fun. It should be fun. We have 3 rounds and a bonus round. And so we'll just run through this and see how you do. So, is
this competitive? Is it Ray versus Kyle?
So what we're going to do, I'll throw it out to one of you. If you get it, and you can name the movie, if there is a collaboration or not, then you'll get a point. If you can't, then your opponent can try for the point. Round 1 will be worth 1 point. Round 2 will be 2 points. Round 3 will be 3 points. And then we'll see what happens with the bonus round. We'll see where we are by the time we get there.
May the better man win, and I expect you will.
So, the quick rules, there are no TV shows on here. It's just feature films, but they can be animated films. Just be aware.
Okay.
Which may make sense for this first one in particular. Who wants to kick us off?
Ray does.
Okay. Fine. Ray, first person. This round 1, which haven't they worked with? Your person is Ming-Na Wen. Are you familiar with Ming-Na Wen, Ray?
No.
Well, I'll tell you a TV show she's been in.
I am.
we can talk TV. She's been
The Mandalorian.
She's in The Mandalorian, and she's also in what's the Marvel show? I'm totally
Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Who was she in The Mandalorian?
She
is Fennec.
She was just in the episode with Boba Fett.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Yes. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So you're going to really have fun with this round. Ming-Na Wen.
I'm sure.
Okay, I'm going to give you 5 actors or actresses. In this case, it's just all actors. Who you have to pick which one she has not worked with. All right?
Okay.
Ming-Na Wen. The 5 are Pat Morita, Jet Li, John C. Reilly, Chris Evans, and Jackie Chan.
I'm going to say Pat Morita.
Pat Morita. Interesting. Well, you'd be wrong. Kyle, would you like to see if you can get a point for this one?
Yeah. What are the remaining 4?
So the remaining 4 are Jet Li, John C. Reilly, Chris Evans, and Jackie Chan.
I'm going to say Jackie Chan.
You are correct. She has not been in a movie with Jackie Chan. Can you name any of the movies she's been in with the other 4? Pat Morita, Jet Li, John C. Reilly, Chris Evans.
Was Pat Morita in Joy Luck Club?
That would be incorrect.
Okay. Then I'm going to say no.
I will give you both a big hint, because I also kind of gave you a hint when we started. Animated films are definitely going to be included.
Yeah.
Pat Morita played the Emperor in Mulan. Jet Li played the Emperor in Mulan in the live action version. John C. Reilly, she was in with Ralph Breaks the Internet because she played Mulan in that film.
Oh, yeah. I didn't put that together. The first 2 I got. I remember those 2, but I couldn't remember the John C. Reilly.
Yeah, it's a small part, but they get all the princesses back in that scene in there.
Right.
And last but not least, Chris Evans, she was in the movie Push that he did in 2009.
Push.
Yes.
Wow.
I know. All right, Kyle, you're up for round 2. And this is, considering there's a game named after him, I'd like to think this will be easy. Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
Kevin Bacon. The 5 performers are Ming-Na Wen, Gwyneth Paltrow, Donald Sutherland, Octavia Spencer, Michael Sheen. Ming-Na Wen, Gwyneth Paltrow, Donald Sutherland, Octavia Spencer, and Michael Sheen.
Let's say Gwyneth Paltrow.
You are correct. Out of the gate. Now, can you get a bonus point by naming any of the movies from any of the other people?
Oh, boy.
Kevin Bacon and Ming-Na Wen. Any idea?
Well, Kevin Bacon didn't do any voiceover, so it wouldn't be a Mulan thing again.
It was not. Ray, I don't know. You might know this one as a horror film.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't know that.
Friday the 13th?
It was a 2016 film called The Darkness.
Oh, The Darkness.
Yes.
Wow.
How about Donald Sutherland? Kevin Bacon and Donald Sutherland.
Animal House.
JFK?
Animal House.
Both of you are correct. Those are the 2 films that they were in together. Animal House and JFK.
Oh, yeah. Son of a gun.
Yeah.
I forgot about Kevin Bacon being in JFK.
Yeah, when I played the Kevin Bacon game in college, man, JFK was one of my go-tos. I kept that in my pocket all the time.
Absolutely.
So many people are in that.
Octavia Spencer, any ideas? They were in the movie Beauty Shop together.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Last but not least, Michael Sheen. Kevin Bacon and Michael Sheen. They were in the movie Frost Nixon.
Yes,
together.
that's right.
Oh.
I just watched that.
Yeah, you should have known that. Okay. All right. Next up, Gwyneth Paltrow. Ray, you're kicking us off. The 5 actors: Tom Hanks, Paul Giamatti, John Hannah, Lawrence Fishburne, Anthony Hopkins. Which has she not worked with?
Ooh.
Tom Hanks, Paul Giamatti, John Hannah, Lawrence Fishburne, Anthony Hopkins.
I just want to say, I'm sure John Hannah is so excited to be in that list. I love John Hannah. I love John Hannah so much.
He's great.
I'm torn between 2. I'm going to go with Hopkins, Anthony Hopkins.
You would be incorrect.
Of course I am.
Kyle, any idea? Tom Hanks, Paul Giamatti, John Hannah, or Lawrence Fishburne?
Oh, who was the actor we're trying to?
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Oh, Gwyneth. Okay. Now my head's back in the game. I got caught on Michael Sheen because because I was thinking of a different actor. That was what was screwing me up. Who was the guy that played Zod in Man of Steel?
Michael Shannon.
So I thought I heard Michael Sheen in my head. I went to Michael Shannon, and so I was like, wait, Michael Shannon wasn't in Frost Nixon. Oh wait, it's the other. Okay, got it.
Totally different.
Gwyneth Paltrow and
Tom Hanks, Paul Giamatti, John Hannah, Lawrence Fishburne.
Oh, which was she not in a movie with?
Which was she not with?
Okay, and you said Anthony Hopkins.
We already ruled out Anthony Hopkins.
Don't tell him.
You ruled it out. You guessed it, and I told you were wrong. So which one of those four has she not acted with before?
I'm going to say Lawrence Fishburne.
You would be incorrect.
That was going to be my second guess, too. So,
all right. Tom Hanks was the answer on this round.
Yeah.
Oh.
Can either of you name what movie she was in with Paul Giamatti? Directed by her brother in the year 2000.
Sideways?
Nope.
Oh no! Was it that? Was it that karaoke movie?
It was.
Oh,
yes, it was.
yes.
Yeah.
With Huey Lewis was in it.
Yeah.
Duets.
That's
duets. Nobody gets a point for that one. How about John Hannah? Gwyneth Paltrow and John Hannah.
Sliding Doors?
Sliding Doors.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What a great movie. Lawrence Fishburne. This is another JFK movie. Lawrence Fishburne and Gwyneth Paltrow in the film Contagion.
Oh.
Contagion. Okay. Steven Soderbergh's perfect film for this time of this time of life. Last, Anthony Hopkins. She was in the movie Proof with Anthony Hopkins. All right, jumping into round two, true or false. Let's see, Kyle. We'll kick off with you since we ended on Ray on the last round. This is jumping way back. We'll see. This might be one that Ray needs to steal from you if you struggle with this one. These two actors, true or false? Lon Chaney has acted with Lon Chaney Jr.
True.
You are correct. Technically, it's a bit part. Lon Chaney Jr. only was featured in The Trap from 1922. It was just his hands as a child that you saw, but in fact, they were in that movie together.
Counts. Hands count.
All right. That's right. Let's see. Ray, Kristen Stewart, and Vincent Cassel. Have they been, or I should say, Kristen Stewart and Vincent Cassel have been in a movie together. True or false?
False.
You are incorrect.
Of course, I am
incorrect. Do you want to try? Do you want to try to get a point from that, Kyle, by naming the movie?
Oh, I was going to say true. Oh, wait, you actually want the
movie? Nice try. Nice try.
Well, I guess
if I tell you it was 2020, does that give you any hint?
Wow.
Not many options.
He's not in the happiest season, is he?
Nope.
I saw that. I didn't remember seeing him there.
A little earlier in the year.
No, I don't got it.
Underwater, the horror.
Oh, Underwater. God, what a terrible title.
Okay, Kyle, Whoopi Goldberg and Bridget Fonda have been in a movie together.
False.
True or false? You are incorrect.
Oh, interesting.
Ray, they have been in a movie. Can you get a point by naming that movie?
Was Bridget Fonda in Ghost?
She was not in Ghost. I feel like, Kyle, this is a movie you should know. I don't know why. It just seems like a Kyle sort of movie.
Well, see, Whoopi Goldberg was not in Point of No Return.
It is not. No, it is Monkey Bone. Brendan Fraser's film, Monkey Bone.
I forgot both those actresses were in Monkey Bone.
Okay, Ray, up for you. Danny Glover and Crispin Glover have been in a film together. True or false?
The Glover brothers.
The Glover brothers.
I'm going to say false.
You are correct. They have not been in any films together.
What movie could handle that much star power?
That would be a trip of a movie.
We need to get Donald Glover in there too.
Right. What other Glovers can we include?
You know, for a minute I was thinking, was Crispin Glover in the Royal Tenenbaums?
You know, if there was one, it could have been that one.
He'd have fit in.
Exactly. All right, Kyle, Javier Bardem and Viola Davis.
I'm going to say true.
And what would it be, pray tell?
That's a good question. I see them in the same movie together, and it was directed by either a man or a woman.
You got that right.
It was within the last 10 years.
It was scraping by 2010.
It's the name. Vicky Cristina Barcelona?
It was not that.
Okay. Now that I'm
Ray, do you want to try for it?
The only thing I can think of, I don't think is the right answer, and that's No Country for Old Men.
That was definitely not it. No, it was Eat, Pray, Love.
See,
Okay.
I knew it was one of those romantic-y.
I'll tell you, that's another movie that is almost a JFK level sort of thing. You look at the cast. Julia Roberts saw a lot of people as she traveled around the world. Let me tell you. All right, Ray, up for you. Meryl Streep and Owen Wilson.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Wow.
I'm going to say true.
Okay, and what would the movie be?
Sophie's Choice 2.
More choices.
More choices. Not another choice.
I have no idea.
Well, you get a point for at least getting that. Kyle, can you get a point by naming the movie? Meryl Streep and Owen Wilson were in together.
I'm trying to think if she's done voiceover. Like, she wouldn't have, like, I know it wasn't a Cars because I've seen all three of the Cars movies, but like, what else has Owen Wilson done? It's going to be something weird like Romeo and Juliet or something, but I know it's an animated something, but I can't come up with it.
It is Fantastic Mr. Fox.
That is. Okay.
Of course it is. All right, Kyle, Nicolas Cage and Patrick Wilson have been in a movie together. True or false?
As one career is going up and the other one's going down, do they ever like cross over? I'm going to say true.
You are incorrect.
Oh.
They have not been in anything together.
Okay.
Seems like they would be an interesting pairing. I'd love to see that. Yeah. All right, Ray, last one for you. Kate Winslet and Tom Hanks have been in a movie together. True or false?
I'm going to say false.
You are correct. They have not been in anything together. All right, moving on to round 3, one, some, or none. Kyle, we're starting this round with you. Nicolas Cage and Meryl Streep, have they been in one movie together, some movies together, or no movies together?
I'm going to say no movies together.
Ooh, out of the gate, incorrect all the way. Ray.
I want to say some, but I can only think of one for sure.
Okay.
Adaptation.
Adaptation. You get a point for that. Adaptation. They've also been in The Ant Bully together.
Okay.
Oh, I've actually seen that movie.
Now, technically, this is a weird thing. Somebody actually made a movie called Final Cut, ladies and gentlemen, that is a love story that actually intercuts like 100 different actors in it. Just about like, I don't even know what the premise is, but it just sounds like the most bonkers thing. Technically, they were in that, but I'm not counting it since it's
seems like
cut
cheating.
footage. Yeah, it's cut footage from other
That's
films.
a student project.
Exactly. Okay, Ray, next up for you, Meryl Streep and Paul Dano. One, some, or none?
I'm going to say none.
You are correct. You get 3 points for that.
Yay.
Ooh.
Kyle, Paul Dano and Denzel Washington. One, some, or none?
Well, Denzel was not in There Will Be Blood.
He was not.
I'm going to say one.
Oh, you're incorrect.
Ah.
Ray, would you like to get a point by stealing that from him? It's either some or none.
None?
It is none. It is none. They have not worked together.
Seems like
Which is
he
a
would have
shame.
been in like a bone collector or something as like a lab tech, you know, like as he's making his bones.
That totally would make sense. Paul Dano
Right?
seems like that sort
That's
of person.
kind of what I thought, but
Yeah.
turns out no.
I get it. I hear you, man.
Yeah.
All right, Ray, Denzel Washington and Antonio Banderas. One, some, or none?
Oh, I'm going to say one.
Oh, are you? And what would that one be?
Philadelphia.
You are correct.
Oh, nice.
Yes. You got
I
all 3
forgot
points for
Antonio
that
done
one.
that.
Yes, he was Tom Hanks's boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Kyle, back to you. Antonio Banderas and Gary Oldman. One, some, or none?
Gary Oldman is such a chameleon. He could have been in all of them. And we might not have known. I'm going to say one.
Oh, are you? And what would that one be?
I have no idea. Ray, do you know it?
It was, forgive me, it was Antonio Banderas and Gary Oldman, right?
Correct.
I haven't a clue.
It was 2019. It was The Laundromat. They were laundering money.
I'm not sure I've even heard of that one.
I hadn't either.
It was a trailer pick, I know, but it was a bonkers, I think, straight to Netflix movie that I feel like Steven Soderbergh was producing or something. It was kind of an interesting looking one. I didn't end up watching it though, but all right. Let's see. Where does that leave us? Ray, Gary Oldman, and Kathy Bates. One, some, or none?
I'm going to say none.
You are correct. You are killing it on this round. Kyle, how about you? Kathy Bates and Jack Nicholson. One, some, or none?
Well, I can think of one right at the top of my head. So,
okay.
I'm going to say one.
And that would be?
About Schmidt.
You got it. Correct.
That's infamous.
All right, back.
Because there's some scenes that are just burned into your head.
Very true. Very true. All right, Ray, Jack Nicholson and Michelle Pfeiffer. One, some, or none?
Oh, man. You really should know this.
Yeah.
And as the person who's losing this game, I tell you, you should know.
I'm going to say one.
Okay.
And I don't know what it is. I want it like.
Well, I'll tell you, you're wrong.
Okay.
And I'm going to throw it back to Kyle now, so don't get it.
Well, there's going to be some, because I could think of one.
Okay.
The one I was thinking of that I thought Ray would know was Wolf.
Interesting that's the one that you remember.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. And you don't remember the other one?
I don't remember the other one because he was dead by the time she was in Batman Returns.
Yeah, the first thing that popped into my head was they were both in a Keaton Batman movie, but they were in separate ones.
Yeah, no, they were in
different
simultaneous,
ones,
but not overlapping.
No, right. The other one was The Witches of Eastwick.
Oh,
yeah. Really surprised.
I forgot she was in that.
Would be more remembered. Yeah. Yeah, it was her, Susan Sarandon, and who was the third witch?
Cher.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. All right. Back to who's it?
Kyle?
Ray?
Is it Kyle?
No, it's Kyle.
It's
Kyle.
to me. Yeah.
Kyle.
Yeah.
All right. Michelle Pfeiffer and Nicolas Cage. One, some, or none?
Oh boy. I'm gonna say none.
You are correct.
Yeah.
3 points to you for that one. All right, gentlemen, we're down to the bonus round. This one is who has worked together more. So for this, we're just going to, I'm going to say we've got 3 rounds here, and I'm going to call it's a director, and I will name 2 actors, and you tell me, it's whoever calls it out first gets the points for this one. The first director is Alfred Hitchcock, and the 2 actors are James Stewart and Cary Grant.
The same.
Nice. You got it.
They both,
it's the same.
They both did 4 apiece.
Okay. They both did 4. Nice. That is correct.
And then they were done.
They both did 4 with old Hitch.
Trick question, Mr. Nelson.
It was a trick question. All right, the next one, Martin Scorsese. Now, we know he did a lot of films with Robert De Niro. I'm not putting him on the list because it's 9 films and it's not fair up against anybody else. But what about Harvey Keitel and Leonardo DiCaprio?
Yeah, I'd say Keitel.
Kyle, you get it. He worked with Harvey Keitel on 6 films. Who's That Knocking at My Door? Mean Streets, Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, Taxi Driver, The Last Temptation of Christ, and The Irishman. Leonardo DiCaprio only had 5, Gangs of New York, The Aviator, The Departed, Shutter Island, and The Wolf of Wall Street. Okay, last but not least, this is a little shift here. It's going to be an actor that I'm going to name, and it's going to be 2 different things that I throw out at you. And it still is who has worked together more. Samuel L. Jackson is who we're talking about. Who has Samuel L. Jackson worked with more, Quentin Tarantino or the MCU?
MCU.
Kyle beat you by a hair there. How many times has Samuel L. Jackson worked with Tarantino versus the MCU?
Let's see. I believe he's done 7 Tarantino movies.
I thought it was
because Tarantino's done 9 movies so far, right?
Yeah. I was going to say 5, but
well, one of them technically is just an uncredited voiceover.
Yeah.
But it still counts.
Right.
It's 6. Pulp Fiction, 6, Jackie Brown, Kill Bill Volume 2, Inglourious Bastards, Django Unchained, The Hateful Eight.
I forgot about Kill Bill.
Yeah. So he was in those 6. As for the MCU, it is, what did I say, 11. Iron Man, Iron Man 2, Thor, Captain America the First Avenger, The Avengers, Captain America the Winter Soldier, Avengers Age of Ultron, Avengers Infinity War, Captain Marvel, Avengers Endgame, Spider-Man Far From Home.
He makes so many like tiny appearances in the MCU.
Right. Yeah, just one of his one of his Quentin Tarantino films, like his screen time is more than all of what he's done. Exactly,
because he signed a 9-picture deal. So I knew instantly that it was already done more MCU stuff because Tarantino's only made 9 movies.
Yeah. Well, that's it for the game, fellas. Ray, you were doing really well for a while, but that bonus round, Kyle took 2 of those from you and ended up beating you by 4 points, 25 to 21.
Cow. Well, it was a good game.
I'm shocked by this.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
I apologize to everyone who was screaming at me. I was like, why don't you know that?
Steve was.
Steve, yes, absolutely.
Right. I'm sure I'll have an angry Discord message when I get off.
Exactly. Well, that's it for this round of the collaboration game. I'll be back to this next time I'm on. So it's a fun one. Thanks for playing, gents.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for all your hard work. I know how hard it is putting these games
together. Thanks for making me feel dumb.
Though. Hey,
no, it just shows how much other things we have to watch.
Right. There's so much out there. So much out there.
And he's a teacher.
That's right. That's what I'm here for.
Thank you, Sensei.
Young Padawans. All right. Well, let's, I guess that's it. So let's jump into our lists. We are, this week, Underworld Evolution was the show that we talked about, the movie we talked about on our show. And we put the list to the our listeners over in Discord on the Show Talk channel. And, we had some interesting options, but people really liked this option. The options were gruesomely awesome deaths, mysterious fathers, and supernatural creatures in modern settings. Gruesomely unnatural deaths. You knew people were going to go for that one. That one by a long shot. So we are here to talk about movies with gruesomely awesome deaths.
I love it.
Now, we had a few people throw some rules at us.
Ben
not from horror films. Yeah, he said, I would love it if every participant could come up with at least one that is not from a horror film. And then Nick Langdon, of course, said James Bond and Indiana Jones films are easy, non-horror source of gruesome death. So how about leaving those off as well? Challenge accepted, gents.
Yes.
Yep.
All right. And Kyle, you stinker, you get to go first because.
So I originally I had on my list, I will admit, I had Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade on my list because I thought people would go obviously for the Raiders one, but you have chosen poorly. Death is a pretty good one, but that is not what I chose. Instead, we're going back to, as we mentioned him already, Mr. Quentin Tarantino. It's bad enough when you have to face one of your best friends in a duel, but when then she has to fight you in the snow, and then she chops the top of your head off, and then you get the snow falling on your exposed brain. Man, it's a bad time for Oren Ishii in Kill Bill Volume 1 from 2003.
Great pick.
Nice. That's a great one. I love.
It's also interesting that as I was doing research for this, I found out that she says our duel would only last. I would kill you in less than 5 minutes, and the entire duel takes 4 minutes and 59 seconds.
That is awesome. I did not know that.
Yeah, which is interesting because the way that they time that out, it takes there's so much patience in it with the way that little fountain is pouring water and everything. They really take their time with it by the time all of that starts. So it's interesting, very interesting. Cool. All right. I guess I'm up second. I'm the next one. So I'm going to pick. I was torn because gruesomely awesome deaths. So it's not just gruesome deaths. So I was like, okay, it's not movies that it's like, wow, that was disgusting, and I'm in terror because I'm watching something really horrifying in a great horror film or something like that. But I'm like, it has to be. I have to have that element of enjoyment with either the horror film or action film or whatever it is that gives me that sense of, that was so gross. And it's that sort of thing. So I struggled for a little bit, but I ended up going with, for my first pick, I'm going with the original A Nightmare on Elm Street film. And it's when Glenn, played by Johnny Depp, gets killed. He falls asleep. And it's one of those films that I think because Freddy Krueger is just, I mean, he's always cracking jokes and everything. I feel like the deaths in those movies kind of turned into what we got in like the Saw films and stuff. It's like, let's see how we can kick it up a notch. And especially as that franchise continued. But when Glenn died, it was gruesome and it was awesome. And as a young horror fan, I just was totally in love with the way they did it, where he basically gets like kind of killed and like almost like crushed and sucked into the bed, and then turns into like this geyser of blood that's just like shooting out of the bed and just flooding the ceiling full of blood in the most illogical of ways. But I loved it. It was glorious in all its disgustingness. And that's my first pick, Nightmare on Elm Street from 1984.
So iconic.
Yes.
All right. Well, Ben, this is my one non-horror pick. All right. Because there are just way too many good picks in horror movies. But my one non-horror pick is from a comedy action movie. And the scene in particular features a gentleman who's trying to expose a plot and help the police. And as he's waiting to talk to the police sergeant, he's standing at the base of a church, and someone pushes a piece of the church off the roof, and it crushes his head. I'm, of course, talking about the character of Tim Messenger in Hot Fuzz.
And that's a steal.
Such a bloody good one.
I had that go as well.
That's a great one. We've talked about that on the show, so I didn't have it on my list, but it's an absolutely brilliant one. All right, Kyle, back to you.
Okay, so I have a particularly good death in not a particularly good movie. So as many know, as the host, one of the co-hosts of Marvel Movie Minute, I'm a big fan of comic book movies. I saw this comic book movie, did not like it, but really liked this last one thing. So it's bad enough. Usually you have the confrontation at the end of the film where you have the hero and then the villain and face off, and then it's always a explosion of violence and then the hero things. But in this one, the hero decided to go a little bit further than that and not just end them, but actually punish him as well. So from The Punisher 2004, I'm going with the death of Howard Saint, because John Travolta is strapped chained to the back of a car, and the car is then driven through a car lot where the car lot is filled with bombs placed on the cars, and he explodes them one by one as he's being dragged through it. So it is a pretty memorable, and what I would say pretty gruesome death.
Yes.
Jeez.
I need to rewatch that one.
Just watch that part. Just get to the you can skip most of the stuff at the beginning.
Find the clip on YouTube. Right, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Inevitably, well, that's one thing I learned searching for this, is that there are a lot of people who love like doing gruesome death cuts on YouTube of like 10 top gruesome deaths. It's like there's a lot of those videos out there, so inevitably that's out there too.
We love the gore heads.
Yes, there's some fun ones. For my next one, I feel like this had to have been picked on a list. And I swear, I keep typing it in and it's like nobody's picked it. And I'm like, somebody had to have picked this at some point. But obviously it's been a while. It's not in the system. But I'm going to do it. This is definitely my non-horror. It is Pulp Fiction, when Marvin gets shot in the face.
Oh, yeah. I just shot Marvin in the face.
That was gruesome, very, very gruesome. And it was so much fun. And in all of its just disgustingness, and the fact that they had to clean it up, and the wolf was there helping them, and just like everything, the way that played out. That was like the one Quentin Tarantino film where Quentin Tarantino as the actor didn't bother me at all. He was like fine as the house they stop at to do all the cleanup and everything. I just love that whole bit. So Pulp Fiction with Marvin getting shot in the face. That is my second gruesomely awesome death.
I just saw this as a D&D meme recently. This is like, okay, what do you want to do? I'm going to turn around and ask him what was going on there. All right. And he rolls a 1. And the next thing you see is them covered in blood.
just the way Travolta delivers that line. Oh man, I shot Marvin in the face. It cracks me up real bad every time.
Oh, so good. All right, Ray, second pick.
So my second pick is from the 10th installment of a horror franchise.
Wow. All right.
If I believed in guilty pleasures, this would be one for me. It's from the film Jason X. And Jason is frozen, and 400 years in the future, a team of scientists finds him and thaws him out, because people do that. And inevitably, Jason comes to when he's lying on the surgical table, and there's a woman with her back turned to him, and she's getting ready to check him. And in one of the best kill moments in cinematic history, in my humble opinion, he sneaks up behind her, grabs her head, forces it down into a basin of liquid nitrogen so that her head freezes, and then smashes it off the table where it just explodes into bloody, icy chunks.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was pretty epic.
Fun with liquid nitrogen.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I remember that movie has some good moments. One of my favorite things is when Jason pushes past somebody on the spaceship, and the guy thinks he's safe. He says, "It's okay, guys. He just wanted his machete back." And then, of course, he turns around and shows why he wanted his machete back.
Oh, jeez.
That movie has a weird but fun sense of humor.
All right. Final round, gentlemen. What is your top pick, Kyle?
So in an action adventure movie, usually when you see a death happen like this, it's usually justified in some way. The bad guys get it, but every once in a while a death will come for a character who had really nothing going on, like they were not particularly evil or wrong or bad, and you just have to kind of go, what did this actor do on the set that they were so horribly punished on screen? So I'm going to Jurassic World, The Deaths of Zaya, because for some reason the nanny gets it the worst, and I don't know why. So she's lifted off the ground by pterodons, thrown and then thrown into the water. The dinosaur then dives in after her and pulls her out. And then that dinosaur is then eaten by the mosasaur. Like, she got it worse than anybody in the entire franchise. And for what?
Yeah, she wasn't even a character that we had time to hate ever.
No. Like, the only thing that her only sin in the movie was she was mildly inattentive to the kids, like playing on the phone.
Ugh. So weird. That was a strange one. Yeah. I love that one. That's a good one. That was a film board. That was an interesting new direction for that franchise. We'll see where they go with the next one.
Yeah, we'll see where
theoretical last one. Who knows?
Yeah. Dominion.
For my final pick, I am jumping to, actually, it's also not a horror film. In fact, some might call it a drama. Some might call it a really boring drama. It's a film that, I don't know. I saw once and I was pretty okay with it. I don't think I remember a whole lot about it other than kind of the premise of the story. But a few years ago, there was actually, I think it might have just been last year, like a meme started playing the death scene of this particular character because of how absurdly comical it is. And it was a tweet that came out, I think, last April 2019. And it just shows I think we're about 15 minutes into the movie, but we have in this particular clip, it's about a minute and a half. And it's these characters as they're saying goodbye to each other. It's Brad Pitt and Claire Forlani. And they've kind of fallen in love, but they're not quite sure. And they're parting ways. And she walks away and he walks away. And then she turns and stops and she's like, oh, I should go back. But she doesn't, and she turns back just in time to miss him turning and looking, oh, I should go back. And then he doesn't, and he starts walking away again. And then she pauses and literally keeps going. She stops and turns, and then she keeps going. And then he stops and turns, and then he keeps going. And then she stops and turns, and she keeps going. And then she turns around the corner and leaves. And then by this point, he's in the middle of the road, and he stops, and he's like, oh, I'm going to go back. And then he gets hit by a car, and he gets bounced off of this car, and he gets hit by a taxi going the other direction, and he gets bounced off of this one. And honestly, in the context of the film, it probably isn't as funny. But when you're just watching this minute and a half clip, And especially when it's like the loop version and you just see him bouncing back and forth between these two cars. It's absurd and gruesome. It's not that gruesome. It's not bloody or anything, but it's just like the concept of being hit and bounced across by two cars. It's kind of gruesome. So I picked that as my top one. It's from Meet Joe Black, 98, I believe. So that's my final pick.
Because he's not only really dead, he's really quite sincerely dead.
Really, truly. Yes.
Yeah, I remember seeing that movie in the theaters, and the audience laughed at that too because it's so ridiculously over the top and so badly rendered.
Yeah,
like it's bad special effects and a weird timing.
And what's funny about that is, and actually, I'll put this link in the show notes. I actually found an article about this, about how they actually made like a dummy of Brad that they actually like modeled off of his body, and they dressed it, and they actually, it sounds like they actually had this physically bouncing back and forth like between the vehicles. Like they actually did this, and there was some CG work that they had to do, but largely it was still just like this dummy that was bouncing around. So that's what's even funnier, is it's like done in such a way where it doesn't even look real, even though it's a physical dummy. So I believe I remember at the end of it, I believe that it even goes to a slow fade to black. Like it's not even like boom, 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 he's dead, and then we're off to the next thing. It's like it's like you just see the fronts of the cars because he's off screen, and it slowly fades to black before it goes to the next scene. Well, it's because he's dying, and then when he comes back, now he's Death, right? Or Death takes his face, and blah blah blah. Yeah. Because it's the Death Takes a Holiday remake is basically what it is. So, all right, that's my final pick. Meet Joe Black. Ray, finish us off.
Okay, so never mention this movie in my presence because it's one of my all-time favorites, and you will never get me to shut up about it. I've mentioned it on the Saturday Matinee before, but never for the list. So, I am taking a death from one of my all-time favorite movies that no one else seems to like, and that is 1982's Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. And so in the movie revolves around this plot with something's up with this company, Silver Shamrock, that makes these Halloween masks. And so Tom Atkins and this girl go to try to figure out the mystery, what's behind these masks. And one woman that they meet named Marge Gutman is staying in the same hotel. And as she's handling one of the masks, the seal or the logo, company logo, falls off of the mask, and behind it is revealed to be some kind of chip. And she starts playing with it with a hairpin, and all of a sudden this beam shoots out of it, hits her in the face, and the next time we see her, the bottom half of her face is missing, exposing her skull, her teeth, and these insects just start to crawl out. And yeah, it is a lot of fun.
That's a good one. I need to rewatch that one. I really enjoy it. Excellent. Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. All right. That's it for our lists, gents. Good. So some gruesome deaths. Did you have any backups, either of you? Any backups you want to give shout outs to?
I had a backup for a non-horror, Casino, whenever Nicky and his brother Dominic are beaten to within an inch of their lives with a baseball bat and then buried alive.
Oh. But it's interesting that in our list we came with Tarantino twice, but never mentioned really the master of disaster, and that would be Paul Verhoeven, because the two on my list would be RoboCop, which is death by toxic waste and then vehicular manslaughter.
Not to mention the shooting death of Murphy at the beginning.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah. And Total Recall, spike to the ear.
Yeah. Yeah, I had RoboCop as a backup. I also had Deadly Friend. I was tempted to do a couple of Wes Cravens. Deadly Friend, because there's the scene with, what's her name? Anne, I can't remember, the throw mama from the train, Goonies I'm blanking on her name, but she's in it, and the deadly friend takes a basketball and throws it at her and hits her in the head, and it explodes her head because, she's a robot, and she throws it with such force that it blows her head clean off. And then her body flips around for a minute. So that one. And then Cube Zero, I didn't have time to watch it, but I watched a death scene where a person's skin basically melts off their body, and it's horrifying. And so it kind of actually made me want to watch it because it certainly was a gruesomely awesome death. So
nice.
And I'd like to say, of the Uber game that was being played, that I won because I did no horror movies.
Nice.
Well, aren't you special?
I am. That's a double winner. I won the game and I won the meta game.
You sure did. All right. What are we going to do next week? Next week, we're going to be talking about Underworld Rise of the Lycans, the third in the Underworld franchise. It is the flashback movie where we jump back in time and we see the Lycans revolt. They are, of course, the vampire's slaves, and they revolt. And led by Lucian, they go on the rampage and start the war that has lasted centuries. So what shall we talk about? Any interesting ideas from that particular film?
I like the idea of fake history.
Oh, yeah. That's fun.
Okay, that's a good one. I like fake history, too. What about you, Kyle? Any interesting?
I look at the list, and while I am interested in ninja throwing star adjacent weapons, I think the more interesting thing that we could get for the lists would be the Romeo and Juliet-esque stories.
Yes, I find that to be pretty interesting. And last but not least, I was thinking slave revolts. I thought that could be a kind of a fun one.
Good one.
Fun. I don't know. Well, dealing with the world of slavery.
We all have fun in our own ways.
Well, they're revolting, so it is fun.
It can be, sure. All right, that's what we'll do. Fake history, Romeo and Juliet-esque stories, and slave revolts. So we'll get that list up in our Show Talk channel over in Discord.
Hey, Andy, I want to vote in next week's challenge. How would I go about doing that?
Thanks for asking, Kyle. If you want to vote in next week's list challenge, it is simple. You just head over to the Show Talk channel in the Next Reel Discord community, and you can lend your vote to the chaos that is list picking and movie sabotage each week. How do you get access to the Show channel talk, you ask? All you have to do is head over to thenextreel.com/membership, and you can become a supporter of the Next Reel family of podcasts. For just $1 a month, you can become a one-reeler and join our online community in our Discord server. For a few dollars more per month, you can become a two-reeler supporter, and you can join us for show live streams as we record, early access to shows in your very own personal podcast feed, and access to the super secret members channel in Discord. Plus, you can now support us with a single annual donation at either level. Well, gents, thank you so much. It was a pleasure chatting with you this fine Saturday morning.
Oh, the pleasure was all on this side of the screen.
I'm off to go watch The Prom.
Hey, all right. Well, everybody, thanks to all of you who have joined us and to those of you who are just checking us out. Your support allows us to keep producing and growing the Next Reel family podcast at True Story FM. Until next week, have a great rest of your Saturday and your weekend. Thank you, everybody.
Enough said.
Bye.